Good evening folks, another retro video for you this evening, and this time it's the Psion Organiser II, and as you would expect this is the second one that Psion made, but this was the most, has been quoted as being the first usable PDA ever manufactured. And this particular model was had massive improvements over the original Organiser, and was utilised here in the UK by various companies. And if you look on Wikipedia, there's some great information on it. What was I going to say? Yeah, Marks and Spencer's used it to do their, sort of, not accounting, but checking stock levels and stuff like that, and recording stock levels. And it was the first trial of a mobile device for the UK government as well, when they rolled out 3,000 of these particular units. Now, whether that's because they thought it was a really good idea, or whether it was tied in because it is made in the UK, it may have been a sort of funding sort of thing. You give us some money to help us design this, and then we'll give you 3,000 units to trial free of charge, or that kind of thing. You know how government sort of grants work. But anyway, yeah, so I thought we'd have a look at this. So I purchased this at a car boot sale, funnily enough, and paid the grand sum of £1 for it, which I think is a bit of a bargain. When I asked how much this is, the little lady behind the counter spoke to her husband, says, "How much is that calculator?" So I think they thought it was just a calculator, but yeah, it is what it is. Okay, folks. So the good thing about this is it was made in 1986, so that is 30 years ago, and it still works, which is nice. So we'll have a look around the unit. There's obviously this hard plastic case, and that does actually just pop off if you want to, but it'll make it a bit easier to show you the actual device itself. So on the front we've got various buttons. We're on button modes, cursor, obviously we're keyboard, but it's in alphabetical order rather than QWERTY, obviously just because it's a 6x6 arrangement, and a couple of things in. We're execute button down at the bottom right there. Nothing on the left side. On the right side we've got a contrast control for the LCD display. There we go, that's probably good enough for you, I think, there. And on the bottom, the back of the unit, we've got two expansion ports, and these are just blanks, dummies, as you can see. But if we look inside the unit, you'll see there's some edge connectors there, and what those were for data packs, basically EEPROM data packs that I think could store 128k of information each, or later on they had EEPROMs, which went up to 256k each. On the bottom is our battery compartment, and I quite like the design of this. It's a spring-loaded arrangement, and you just lift the battery out, and as you can see there, hopefully, if I just use a screwdriver, you'll see that the actual whole connector is spring-loaded in angles, so that it pops in, pops out quite nicely, and you just chuck it in like so. And then on the top we've got an expansion port as well, so it's a female connector this time, and there was various attachments available for this, such as barcode scanners, thermal printers, RS232 interface, and again from Wikipedia, apparently there was even a speech synthesis attachment for this, so God only knows how that works. But we'll have a quick look at this. I'm not going to go too much in detail. You see copyright Psion 1986, and we can just scroll through the various options. Clearly we've got diary, calculator, we can program. It did have a programming language. I think it was based on BASIC, as most of these things were. What else do we have? Just go down. Time, info, alarm, blah blah blah. So it was basically, you know, you could store addresses and set up your alarms and such like. At the time, probably very usable. Clearly, you know, it just does not compare to, you know, our modern smartphones, does it? But let's say it's 30 years old. So, enough talking about it. Let's take the thing apart and see what it looks like. Sorry, just before I do that, as you'll notice, there's no actual off button. You have to go to the menu to off and then execute the off command and it will turn off. Interesting. Anyway, right, we'll take all the bits and pieces that we don't need before we take it apart. And we'll pop that battery out. Oops. Nice ring off that heatsink there. So there's only 3 screws visible. I have seen if this metal part pops off, but it doesn't appear to, so I'm hoping it's just these 3 screws because I don't really want to start prizing this off. But we'll have a look inside and see what 30-year-old technology looks like. So I'm half expecting this battery terminal to pop out because it is spring loaded, so we'll stand by on that one. And it looks like it's just going to lift off. Oops. That was just a little shutter for the expansion port popping off. So inside here, the only thing of note is the little piezo transducer, or a couple of spring-loaded contacts, which clearly marries up with these 2 pads on the PCB. So initially we can see the battery connector, and it's obviously 2 PCBs. And there is a ribbon cable in there joining the 2 bolts together. So it looks to be only 1 screw holding this on, so we'll take that out now. And this should hopefully lift off. Oh, it's quite tight actually. Right, so I think it's all, no, it's not all through hole, so it's pretty much a lot of it's through hole, but there is, as you'll note, a couple of surface mount packages and passive components, but very sparse in that front. A couple of electrolytic capacitors, well, quite a few actually, really small ones there. Little inductor, maybe a tuning cap there, a crystal, and then obviously a little pot there for the contrast control. And this mount here, or the slot for the expansion port, is actually bolted onto the PCB, as you can see there. Okay, folks, looking further into the device here, you'll see, if I turn that around there, we've got an HD 44780, which we'll all know as an LCD controller. HD 44100 as well. So those are both LCD controllers. I don't know why there's 2 actually. Of course, you know, you'll be familiar with the 44780 because it's, you know, widely used in, what do you call it, you know, Arduino products and projects and many products. In fact, if you just bear with me 1 second, I'll just pause the video. I just paused that there. Sorry, back now, and yeah, sorry, you'll be familiar with the 44780 because, you know, we use them a lot in Arduino projects and such like. Now the 44100, you know, I just, you know, probably because I don't use these that often, I probably just assumed that it only is that chipset on there. But on this little 2-line 16 digit, which is probably yeah, it's the same size. It does have 2 little chip on board with the, with the epoxy over the top. So yeah, probably one of them is the 44780 and one is the 44100. On the larger ones, such as this one, this is a 4-line 16 digit. Sorry, 4-line. yeah, whatever it is, 4 line 16. I think it was a 4 line 12, possibly a 4 line 10. Yeah, those have got 3 cobs on the back, so yeah. Anyway, I digress again. So, yeah, 2 LCD driver chips, as we've just talked about at length. HD630. That's possibly our microprocessor to actually control the thing. We've got an ATmel AT27C256. So that's probably a ROM chip, to be honest. And possibly these colour codings are maybe to highlight what sort of ROM version is on it. We've got a small NEC chip in there. So that's 65006-314. Not sure what that is. And then we've got this one here, which is HM 6264 LFP-12. So possibly that's a 8K of RAM. One of these, as you can see, there's 2 spaces that aren't populated, and this came with either 8K or 16K of RAM. So one of those is obviously a RAM, one is a ROM, and clearly there is additional space for the chip to double that memory. So we'll go ahead and take the actual main board out now and see what's on the other side. So the keyboard isn't very tactile, so it's probably going to be one of these rubberized keypads with little sort of carbon pads in the bottom onto the bare PCB. So I shall remove this carefully, because if it is that, the buttons will just go everywhere, as they already have. I'll just pop these back in so I don't lose them. So yeah, that's the other side of the keypad, and interestingly, they've actually implemented a tiny little spring in there with a button on it, and that's just to clip lock the cover in place. So when it goes in, there's a little indentation in there, and that button will depress and lock it in place. Okay, so let's turn this over then. So yeah, as expected, we've got our little keyboard membrane with little carbon pads, and just the LCD itself. And that is pretty much it. Little crystal there as well. And there's a power connector, so you can see how that works. When it's in the actual unit itself. Quite a nice implementation of a power connector. Anyway, folks, I think we'll call it at that. That was just a quick look at the Psion 2 PDA of 1986 vintage. So if you found that interesting, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you wish, and I'll see you again soon for another video. Take care, bye bye.